Politics is a kabaddi of half truths. That is to say, it's a theatre of war in which one half truth competes with another half truth, manages to substitute a half truth with another half truth, all the while claiming that it is the full truth that is substituting the half truth. Welcome, Vanakkam, Swagatham, Vande Mataram. I hope I have not confused you by putting it in this manner. Let me try and reformulate it as simply as I can. When elections happen, there is something called the anti-incumbency factor. The anti-incumbency factor is the measure of unhappiness or disenchantment that voters feel about the party that governed up to the time the elections are being held. So the party that gains from the anti-incumbency factor is the opposite party, the party other than the ruling party. And in order to capitalize on the anti-incumbency sentiment, the new aspiring party, the party that is desperately keen to form the next government, projects itself as a vast improvement on and totally different to the party that now deserves to be voted out. I'm sure anyone who has participated in the electoral process even once will know this to be the truth. As you can hear, the monsoon rain is coming down with all its customary enthusiasm. So if my voice is a bit drowned by the music of nature, please forgive me. I don't feel like discontinuing my thought once it is begun. Therefore, let us try and make as much sense as we can in the midst of this atmospheric, I don't call it noise, the atmospheric voice. I enjoy the sound of rain. It's one of the most beautiful experiences for me. Therefore, I feel all the more inspired and encouraged when there is rain. So this is what happens in elections. Now, let's review what happened in 2014. The UPA had just finished its second consecutive term, and then BJP pulled off a masterstroke in declaring Sri Narendra Modi to be the prime ministerial candidate, knowing fully well that he was quite capable of galvanizing the party and the party cadre, as well as offering perhaps irresistible contestation to the party in power. That calculation was proved right, and if you examine the electoral strategies used by Sri Narendra Modi, you will find that his rhetoric of attack was mainly directed against the UPA, in particular the Congress, and we can very quickly review it, even though we are all familiar with the details. First of all, he proclaimed that eradicating Congress from the soil of India would be the most basic goal of his political mission. Congress Mukt Bharat. Now, presumably, by proclaiming this goal, he created an expectation in the minds of people that something radically different from, as something vastly superior to what the Congress had come to represent or symbolize, would be on offer to them. So, Congress would be substituted by something far more superior, complete, desirable, and in relation to which Congress deserves to be eradicated, exterminated, and blotted out of the face of India. That is the one thing. The second thrust was the corruption of the Congress party. Wherever Sri Narendra Modi looked in terms of the political track record of the Congress, he saw only corruption, corruption, corruption. He could see nothing of value. No good ever happened during the 10-year period, even though the economic development of the country was commendable, even though many progressive legislations were undertaken. He managed to successfully shut the eyes of the Indian public, the Indian electorate, to all that was good and useful during the 10-year-long UPA regime, and focus their attention entirely on whatever was negative, whatever was repugnant, whatever was hateful. Now, if you look at these two things, namely the Congress Mukt Bharat and the attack on corruption, there are elements of truth in both. As a third party observer, I have no hesitation in saying that in whatever Sri Narendra Modi said at that time, there were elements of truth. But what the electorate of India did not realize was that these were not the whole truths, but partial truths. For example, it's a fact that Congress had declined. It's a fact that the ideological moorings of the Congress party had weakened over a period of time, and that the Congress party had actually, for all practical purposes, forgotten Mahatma Gandhi, the spiritually animating source of the party as a people's movement, as well as the father of the nation. So to that extent, the Congress had rendered its relevance considerably weak. Secondly, it is a fact that there was corruption, especially during UPA 2. So whatever Sri Narendra Modi said at that time was not lies, more lies and damned lies. No, there were elements of truth. That's why the people of India lent their ears to him and listened to him in rapt attention. I also did it. I don't think I ever missed a speech by Narendra Modi in 2014 during the run-up to the elections. So it is important for us to realize that he was actually dealing with a certain element of truth. The third rhetoric or third point of rhetorical attack was the dynastic rule. Now here again there was an element of truth. It's a fact that Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi belonged to a very distinguished stock of political leaders who played a stellar role in the building up of modern India. They were not, they did not belong to a royal household. They belonged to the political aristocracy of India, an extremely distinguished stock. There's no question about it. But it was again a half-truth in the sense that simply by belonging to the Nehru-Gandhi stock, neither Rahul Gandhi, nor Priyanka Gandhi, nor Sonia Gandhi should have incurred the displeasure or the opprobrium of the people of India. They could have and they should have incurred our displeasure if they had not proved themselves. Otherwise, to damn a person simply because he or she happened to belong to a particular family is to be totally prejudiced on the basis of family. It is to discriminate against a citizen on the basis of family. Discrimination on any basis whatsoever is repugnant to the spirit of the Constitution. And Constitution Articles 14 and 15 guarantee protection to citizens against any form of discrimination based on any ground whatsoever. You can't discriminate against a citizen on the basis of the fact that he or she belongs to this family or that family. Well, you can certainly protest when a totally incompetent, unsuitable person is placed in a position of sensitive importance simply on the basis of belonging to a particular family. That is nepotism, that is to be roundly condemned. But if a person has merit, and if that merit has been repeatedly proved, as is the case with Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, and Priyanka Gandhi, I don't think there is a single Indian living today who doubts their ability to provide leadership. Certainly the congressmen, and increasingly all other opposition parties are now coming around to the idea that there is something extraordinarily precious in this young man. He's not so young, he's 53 years old, now going to be 54. So the fact is that this charge of dynasty was a half-truth. The charge of dynasty, I repeat, would have been 100% justified if Rahul were an nincompoop, utterly incapable of holding any responsibility, incapable of standing his ground and proving his mettle, and he happened to be just parachuted into a position of importance at the very apex of a party simply because he happened to be conceived in the right womb, to put it as starkly as that. So if you look at, I'm just taking up three instances: the Congress Mukt Bharat, attack on the corruption of Congress, and then the charge of dynastic rule. Now, all three of them had small elements of truth. That's the reason why the millions of people in this country lend their ears to Narendra Modi. But this is what people did not realize. And I have to say that even I did not realize it as clearly, the limitations or the deceptions of that argument then as I do now. That is to say, it took me several years to see through the fallacy, the specious nature of the argument with which Sri Narendra Modi won the day. He won the day, and credit must be given to him. Whether he won the day to good purpose or bad purpose is a different issue. The fact is that he had a task on hand and he performed admirably well, and with a host of other favorable circumstances, he managed to create an aura of invincibility about him to an extraordinary extent, an extent that really astonishes me. I don't know about others. Now, that aura now stands seriously dented, which is another story. Now, what the people of India, the citizens of India, the voters of India did not realize is that they were quite wrong in assuming that simply because a very persuasive person with unmatched rhetorical powers and tremendous indefatigable energy and winsome enthusiasm suddenly bursts on the scene, offers them the whole earth, the whole world, things like Acha Dinayega, 15 lakhs, so on and so forth. I don't want to go into those details. A whole world of expectations was raised. And the people just lapped it up. They lapped it up because they were desperate to lap it up. I don't want to discredit Modi on this count. The people were desperate, and I actually blame the previous government for rendering the people of India desperate. So they were ready to swallow whatever would be offered to them. And Modi had, unfortunately or fortunately, all the tricks in the trade to feed them whatever he wanted them to eat out of his hands. But the people of India did not realize what was actually happening to them. They were made to believe that they would be abandoning half-truths in favor of full truths. Therefore, as against a regime of corruption, they were promised a regime completely free from corruption. Na khaoga, na khane dunga. The truth of the matter is that so long as politics is organized the way it is now, you cannot have corruption-free politics, which is now amply illustrated, proved to beyond any doubt. The latest example being the massive scandal of the electoral bonds, and that's just one instance out of many. Even the NEET examination fiasco, it's a massive piece of corruption. So if someone tells me that a corruption-free India will be offered on a platter, we would be out of our minds to believe that there is a case. Indian politics runs on corruption, on corruption, on corruption, nothing else. So, what actually happened was in 2014, it was essentially a fight between one half-truth and another half-truth. It was mistaken as the fight between one half-truth and the other full truth. UP was not entirely corruption, they did good work. But only corruption was focused and the good work was occluded or obscured from the minds of people. So it's a selected a picture or edited version of reality. That's what I mean by half-truths. And Modi managed to persuade the people that he is going to give them the pure version, the full truth. Such a thing does not happen in politics. It's always the fight between one half-truth and the other half-truth. Therefore, in this whole episode, in this whole sequence, what has happened is corruption by one has been followed by corruption by another, as simple as that. So ultimately, it boils down to the question as to who should have monopoly over corruption. Now consider the idea of Congress Mukt Bharat. Now, in whose interest is it that Congress should be eliminated? Is it the interest of India, the people of India, or is it in the interest of BJP and Narendra Modi, Amit Shah? How does it promote the interest or welfare of the people of India to weaken and eliminate opposition? Everybody knows that democracy minus opposition is dictatorship. So it was actually the contestation of a half-truth, that is, a party which is corrupt deserves to be punished, there is no question about it. A party who does not respect the sanctity of the trust reposed in it by the people of India deserves to be punished. I have no doubt about it. And I'll never offer an apology for it. On the other hand, the person or the alternative party and the leaders offering to the people what they knew to be at best a half-truth, that they will be exactly like the party that they represent, that they displace in all respects, absolutely in all respects. As of today, there is very little difference between the UPA or Congress-led UPA in the pre-2014 Indian scenario and the Modi Amit Shah-led BJP of today. So BJP has been, as some critics say, BJP has been Congressified. The soul of Congress, the spirit of Congress has colonized the BJP in all respects. Now, dynastic element. Do you think the dynastic element can be eradicated from the political dynamics of India? You think the BJP is free from the dynastic element? It's present everywhere. In particular, many of the Congress leaders who have been lured into the BJP come from laden with the dynastic baggage. So it's ultimately like in the case of corruption. The only question is, which party has the right to harbor the dynamic element and to benefit from it? The BJP can do it, the others cannot do it. That's the only thing. So that's why I'm saying that ultimately when it comes to the political scenario, it is one half-truth or one half-lie, they're substituting another half-lie, so that irrespective of what fanfare is created, what great expectations are created, how much the political process is romanticized, rest assured, the plight of the citizen, especially the plight of the common man, and more particularly within that, the plight of the poor and the marginalized, the underprivileged, will remain the same. If anything, it will get worse, as I believe it has. The poor have become poorer, as every economist other than the committed party enthusiasts will readily agree. The plight of the poor has worsened, and the plight of the top 1% has really improved a great deal, and that is equated with the kind of outlandish progress or development of the country. So, the citizens have to become enlightened, they have to become aware of the fact that the promises that are held out by politicians in order to gain their support only to turn that into personal advantage in terms of power control and monetary benefit is not done in 100% sincerity. A politician, a demagogue will sound so completely convinced. He may even cry before you in order to convince you about his sincerity or her sincerity. But the fact of the matter is, politics being what it is today, politics as the art of the possible, politics as a game of expediency, politics as a process from which truth has been cast out, politics as a game of money and of power, power of the media, so on and so forth, it can never be a domain in which half-truths are substituted by whole truths. Especially once we announce with pride that we are in the post-truth politics age, how can you ever expect the full truth to be established in the domain of politics by politicians? If anything, you can expect them to substitute half-truths with untruths. That's all that you can expect. This is not being cynical, it is being realistic. And it is realistic because all of us agree that we are now firmly into the sphere of post-truth politics, meaning this, in the kind of politics that we have embraced and we now practice, truth should have and will have no place. Therefore, I am not being cynical, I am being realistic in saying that if at all there is a change, it will be a change from the bad to the worse. Half-truths will be substituted with full falsehood. That's the only conclusion possible, and that conclusion harmonizes with the experience of the people. So, if we are realistic, if we are mature people, if we have any sense of the real, we will realize that the outlandish promises that politicians and demagogues offer to us, especially at the time of elections, are not meant to be taken seriously. Promises, as Lenin said, promises like pie crust are meant to be broken. They are not meant to be honored. So if anyone believes that by voting Narendra Modi into power in 2014, he would become richer by 15 lakhs overnight, he must be given an award for being the greatest fool of the century. It was not meant to be fulfilled at all. Black money is something that a government cannot wish to eradicate. I am not saying that it cannot be eradicated. We were promised that all the black money that's fled from the country will be brought back in less than 100 days, and that money will be redistributed among the citizens of India. Even today, not a single step has been taken towards reclaiming that money. More and more Indian wealth has fled from the country, whether it is Malaya or Nirav Modi or whatever. They all escaped with the connivance of the concerned agencies of the government, as Vijay Mallya revealed in London. He confided in the then finance minister, I forget his name, Arun Jaitley before leaving. He said, I had Arun Jaitley's nod for leaving the country, and it was not contradicted by Arun Jaitley, who was alive at that time. So all these things have happened in front of our eyes, and therefore I'm not saying this in order to cause disaffection to any particular leader. I'm saying that both parties, both blocs are in the same plight. They function according to the same logic. I see nothing inferior, nothing superior. I don't think a change in government will bring about the kind of transformation that we expect, but I do believe that there can be a difference in terms of personalities And in terms of what we have seen so far, there's a meaningful contrast between Sri Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. When I say this, the camp followers of Narendra Modi will gnash their teeth at me. I can't help observing the obvious truths. Sri Rahul Gandhi presents a study in contrast to Narendra Modi in every detail. Now, how he will behave, how he will cope with the coalition dharma, as Dr. Manmohan Singh said, if at all he happens to become the Prime Minister of India at the head of a coalition government, I do not know. But I do have my apprehensions that the political game being what it is, the compulsions of governance being what they have become, it is extremely difficult for a well-meaning person like Rahul Gandhi, that he is a well-meaning person, I don't have the slightest doubt. But I do have my apprehensions that even for a well-meaning person like Sri Rahul Gandhi, it will not be cakewalk, it will not be a walk in the park to break radically from the rut that the political processes in India have fallen into, and to project or create a new trajectory where the welfare of the people will be prioritized, and social justice, distributive justice will be an item of priority, and that the basic drivers of development will be given due emphasis, especially education and health, and above all, the life, limb and liberty of the people will be secure, and that this miasma of fear that has enveloped the Indian subcontinent will be lifted. I do sincerely believe that these things happen, but whether we will have a real Rama Rajya, not in the communal sense, but in the sense of reign of righteousness, I would be very glad to welcome Rama Rajya, the reign of righteousness, because that's what India wants. And it doesn't matter from which quarter it comes. If BJP can really promise us Rama Rajya in the true sense of the term, I'll vote for that party. Let me say that to you very clearly. But it has to be a sincere commitment and not a deceptive rhetoric to fool people into voting for them. And if Rama Rajya can come through Rahul Gandhi, I will accept him with equal gladness. If it can come through Akhilesh Yadav or Mamata Banerjee or Uddhav Thackeray or Stalin or Pinarayi Vijayan, I will welcome any one of them with equal happiness, provided there is a sincere and passionate, absolute, inflexible commitment to the reign of righteousness. I see no evidence for that as yet, but yes, there are signs, early signs of hope in the person of Rahul Gandhi. That is the reason why, in spite of my academic discipline to be dispassionate, I say things that seem to be favorable to him, and also because he has been subjected to a 15-year-long diabolic process of vilification. Great injustice has been done to him, and therefore my sense of right and wrong, my sense of justice urges me to do what little I can to compensate for the damage he has suffered, and suffered most unfairly and undeservedly. So it is as a matter of compensation, not as a matter of blind personal attachment, that I have taken a stand which could seem pro Rahul Gandhi, but there are certain commendable signs in him, and if those signs are seen in anybody else, I will talk about it with equal enthusiasm, perhaps even more enthusiasm. So that's where I stand. So let me say this once again. The idea that a political change, a change in governance would mean that a very, very rotten government will be substituted by an absolutely perfect government and all will be hunky-dory thereafter. It's utter nonsense. Such a thing has never happened. It can never happen. Rather, what we have seen is going from bad to worse. But I don't want to be cynical about a regeneration in the future. I don't know how long it will take, and therefore I feel excited about in studying with some attention the details of what Rahul Gandhi is doing, because he seems to me to be a study in contrast to Narendra Modi, And I will rest my case there, and I thank you for being with me in this pilgrimage after encountering the truths, the emerging truths of an unfolding nation. Jai Hind.